Man, we got another sicko alert. Yep, we got another sicko alert. Another detail found in this creepo.
What prosecutors revealed they found in David's phone at his court date today made
What we
everybody
found
in the
this
room
time.
stomach turn. It was horrifying. This
God
degenerate
damn.
freak really murdered that little girl and
This
thought he was never
motherfucker
going to get
here.
caught. He thought he committed the perfect crime. He
I
thought,
don't
I mean,
like
there's no
this sick
evidence. He
fuck.
cleaned up his
I ain't
tracks
gonna
good
lie
enough.
to you, Chad.
He thought they was never going to find out. He was never going to get arrested, and that's evident by how he was moving. Celeste was murdered, according to officials, back in April of 2025. I think she was murdered much longer before then, but if we're going with the official timeline, she was murdered back in April. She wasn't discovered dead until September. He had about 6 months to clean up his tracks, and he thought he did a good enough job. He wasn't officially charged with anything until April of 2026. That means that's the entire year since he murdered Celeste. Now, he knew he was under investigation since September. That means he knew he was under investigation for about 6 months. But, you know, his arrogance didn't really allow him to think that he was going to get caught, because when he was eventually arrested, this dude has so much evidence on his phone, not of what he did to Celeste, but of other things that you would think that if somebody knew or had expectation they was gonna get arrested for something this horrific and knew their phone was gonna be a pivotal part of this investigation, that they would at least clean up their phone. But this dude was so arrogant and so cocky, he didn't even bother to even touch or erase his phone or erase illegal things from his phone.
A hearing just wrapped up for singer David in his first-degree murder case.
The prosecution revealed details about disturbing digital evidence. Let's get to CBS LA's Rick Montanez with what we learned in court today. Rick, what are you hearing?
Amy, Chris, the hearing just wrapped up within the half hour here, and cameras were not allowed in court, but I can tell you that the defendant, David Burke, was in court today in shackles and wearing that orange jumpsuit. The biggest new piece of evidence revealed, prosecutors say a significant amount of child found on Burke's cell phone. We also want to point out that this all happens one day after the medical examiner's report became public. That is the report on the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The report says, or I should say the family of Rivas Hernandez is absolutely devastated to learn the gruesome details contained in that write-up. That's according to a family statement. So this report says the 14-year-old girl died of sharp force trauma, but the autopsy was difficult because of the severe decomposition of her dismembered body when it was found in the singer's abandoned Tesla last September. Officials say she died 5 months earlier in April of last year. Burke, the suspect known by his stage name David, was arrested last Thursday. On Monday, he pled not guilty to the capital murder charges. We spoke with a former federal prosecutor just a short time ago here on CBS LA Mornings about this new evidence revealed in today's hearing and the fact that David's phone, according to prosecutors, contains child.
And obviously, we don't know if it's Celeste Rivas's images and videos or something else, but that is a significant offense. Obviously, it helps prosecutors prove the sex crimes, the lewd and lascivious, Penal Code Section 288, but it's also a separate crime in and of itself. And it's certainly the possibility that the feds even step into this case because they typically will prosecute these types of child cases.
They described it as a phone full of child porn. Now, I'm not surprised that this weirdo who's currently on trial for engaging in inappropriate activities with a 14-year-old girl and then murdering her because she was going to reveal it to the world. Am I shocked that that person has a phone full of child porn, have gigabytes of child porn? I'm not surprised at all, not one bit, right? Not one bit. I feel like what's even more surprising is that it wasn't deleted or it wasn't gone. He really thought he was safe. Like, he really thought they was never coming for him.
I'm saying, like, the psychological thoughts going through his head, like, yeah, I'm keeping it. Like, you ain't think about deleting the shit, you know? Oh, man, Chad.
There's no evidence more clear that he thought he was never going to get caught and he was Teflon Don than his neighbors complaining that he was doing too much partying. And this was happening during the investigation. Like, Celeste's body was found. They went to a grand jury. They was like interviewing people, trying to get a murder charge on him. And he was at his hideout home in the Hollywood Hills partying and having a good old time while they investigated this little girl's murder.
Then today, NBC4 Investigates
This
obtained
sick
surveillance
fuck,
video that
man.
appears to show the defense attorney near the police scene minutes later. This afternoon, Blair Burke returned to the home where police arrested the singer and made no comments as she left.
The DA?
That slept the dawn.
One neighbor actually told me that he's relieved that there was an arrest because he said that there have often been parties at this home. I asked if he's heard parties here recently. He said it's an ongoing problem. Either way, on Monday, we're expected to get our first look at David as he's expected in court in person in downtown Los Angeles.
I'm more interested in knowing who the clout whores and monsters were that were still hanging out and partying with this dude, because he can't party with himself.
Hey.
If there were parties, there were
Them niggas need to get arrested too. The people that was partying with this fucking sick white man, they need to get arrested too. Bro. Why they ain't getting arrested?
other people there.
Everybody
Who were
need to
the
get
people that
arrested,
were
goddamn
still
it.
comfortable partying with
Like,
this
how
dude,
you right?
knowing like he was under investigation for what he did to Celeste?
I couldn't do
Like,
that.
even if you want to say, hey, man, I didn't
No,
know that he
not
actually
me.
murdered her. I thought it was all lies. But you knew he was still having relations with this little girl, and you were still comfortable partying. The only people who I see really comfortable partying with someone like David
They the
are
ones-
people who believe they are like David, or people who have
Yeah.
similar interests or secrets like David, which is why I believe
They're like, oh, that's okay, David. We just like you, man. Welcome home. Obviously, because that's what I see in this shit. Why else they still with this sick man, this guy, bro?
man, even if we can't prove that anybody at that party actually did something, man, they need to be under investigation. Like, they need to be put on a
Yeah,
registry,
literally.
man. David friends. We need to know who his friends were so people can stay away from him, bro.
Stay away from that.
Because it's not like they was partying with him before her body got discovered. No, right? These were parties that started happening after David came back to LA after going to Texas briefly to hide out. This was in the middle of the investigation. There needs to be a list of names that are part of David's entourage and his network of people. Because I'm not buying David is doing all these things alone. The same way they try to get us to buy that he murdered Celeste by himself, that Celeste came over to his house on, I think, April 23rd or 24th, and he murdered her, and then she was never to be seen again, and he's the one who did all of this by himself. I'm not buying that, bruh.
Yeah.
Especially after I seen
ain't
the
the only
autopsy
one.
report and found out exactly what.
Hey, that's one thing though. Like, this because he dealt with this sick fuck dealt with a 12-year-old minor. It was some people involved in that because he ain't the only one chopped her body up, bro. He ain't the only one. That's like a 3-man job or something. I don't know, but that's more than like it had to be at least 3 motherfuckers or something, bro.
happened. I don't think David was able to do this himself and hop on a plane the next day
Hell
to go
nah.
and party and have an album rollout and start his tour, and nobody was there to help him either hide his body, chop up this body, dismember this body, and hide it for him. I don't think David, who was on an active tour, was actively hiding and moving
them
Celeste's
people that
body
was in
all
the
across
parties
Los
need to get
Angeles County, bro.
investigated.
Received the autopsy report from the medical examiner in Celeste Rivas's death, for which David is now charged with her murder. And there are some interesting things, and we talked about this before,
Look at
that
his
we
ass, he
knew
look crazy.
that the coroner had ruled this, the medical examiner ruled this a homicide,
What he
but we didn't know
faces.
the cause of death. And the DA said they were stabbed, there was some kind of sharp
instrument was used.
Now we know, and what they're saying is there were 2 wounds in particular, and that they believe, and they use the word may, and the word may is going to be really important, which we'll talk about, that they may be penetrating wounds, which would not be wounds
To
and dismember a body.
Right,
Yeah.
because of where they are, they believe, is I think the main, and also
And the way they describe
wound
it is
itself.
they describe 2 penetrating wounds, one on the abdomen and one on the chest. And they describe them as, they tell you the depth and the length of these, and they say they have smooth edges. Indication seems to me that some sort of knife was plunged into her,
That's what they
and
were
it left
suggesting.
smooth
The key is
edges.
the length of the wounds. One is 3/4 of an inch, one is 9/16. So this size wound as the penetrative wound. These are
Which is
not
an indication of the length of the
poked a
blade.
hole in
the
the
blade
blade.
that could not dismember a body, right? This would
Right.
not be
Right.
the same instrument used to dismember the body.
Now, the body was dismembered. They describe all that
Yeah.
in detail.
That's what I'm saying. So they basically, before they dismantle the body, they poke holes in the motherfucker first. Just to see, like, just to see what they working with or some shit, you know.
But those types of cuts to take the body
Do
apart
they-
would be different than
Does
knife
the
cuts.
report say anything about the dismemberment or what they believe was used?
They don't say what
No,
was
it does
used.
describe it
They
in
don't
a
say
lot
what
of
was used,
detail,
but
the pieces.
it's gruesome.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
that
your
shit
religion
gruesome
is,
as hell.
but this case is proof that some of us didn't come from heaven. Now, we got to give that up, man. I don't think God had created all of us, man. I think the devil had a hand in some of us being created.
Know the power
Because anybody
of the
who
dark
is capable
side.
of this, truly imagine what
For
just happened
real,
here.
man.
Stabbed up some. First off, to take somebody's life by a knife, you gotta have some level of like psychoness in you, bro.
Man,
To
straight
take somebody's
diabolic.
life with a knife is quite possibly one of the most personal things you could ever do. It's traumatic.
Yeah,
It's
all
not
that
easy.
blood
You are
just
feeling
squirting
their
in your
life leave
face.
their body with each and every
And you
stab.
just-
He still will be a disturbed human being if he would have did it by shooting her.
nigga.
Or I don't know, drugging her.
Like, come
But
on,
to do
bruh.
it with a knife and to feel that person's soul leave their body, it does something to the average person.
That's what I'm
bruh.
saying.
The
Like,
fact that this dude was able to hop on a plane, go ahead and party, have a good old time laughing,
Like,
great poker face
you know-
as if nothing happened the day before.
like this shit is crazy, bro. Like he just soul even like dying, blood skirting, and then hop on a plane the next day and perform. Yo, bro, this is sick.
Bruh.
This is
Bruh.
sick.
Then come back and hop on tour and have a tour, and he's playing with coffins at like his like tour dates, playing with blood-filled shirts at his tour dates, singing songs like "Romantic Homicide" that essentially
This
describes what
nigga
happened, but the
crazy.
music was filmed before. The fact that his mentor was able to handle all of this tells me this is not a normal human being.
Yeah, this nigga
This
dangerous.
is somebody who we truly have to acknowledge in the likes of like Ted Bundy. Because when you see him
This
interact
nigga
with other
dangerous,
people,
yeah.
rather it's on stream or during these interviews, he's soft-spoken, he's charming, has a bright
That's that
smile.
killer. That's
We
a killer.
truly have to start considering, David might be like Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
And if he was able to do this so easily,
Yeah,
if he was
Chad.
able to conceal,
Man, this nigga Ted Bundy right under our nose the whole fucking time. This nigga killing shit, ripping shit apart. This nigga dangerous, Chad.
this little girl's death for so long, imagine who else he did it to. If y'all think that,
Who knows?
after hearing what you're about to hear, of limbs being missing, fingers being cut off, if you think that Celeste is his only body, I think y'all are out of y'all mind.
And so there's a word that's used, may, that it may have been caused by this. The defense is going to jump on that.
Oh, they'll
because
definitely
they're not saying it's conclusive, and it aligns with what we've been hearing, which is they were having a really hard time determining how she died.
Well, look at the
recently
passage
as
of time.
February.
As recently as
Heard that,
February.
right.
Yeah.
The passage of time to determine this is a long, it's many, many months.
There's also, and it's conflicting, and we still can't quite figure it out, but there are references to finding presumptive positive indications that she had both meth and MDMA in her system.
Although additional
MDA.
screenings showed that to be
So
not
it
detected,
seems
but
like
in
there
the
were-
initial screen said
Right.
presumptively.
It seems like there were two tests taken, two tox screens. The initial one detected MDMA and methamphetamine. Subsequently, they did a confirmation test, and it was unclear whether there was MDMA, but methamphetamine, but no sign of MDMA at that second confirmation test.
I mean, ultimately, is that going to matter when you get to trial, like whether or not she was
Probably
on
not.
any drugs?
Well, they may argue it was an overdose. I don't know what they're going to argue, but they'll latch on to what they can.
What difference does it make?
But
She got this
look,
metal chopped
I
up
covered
shit.
the O.J. Simpson case.
And niggas
The
help.
coroner was on the stand for 8 days in that case. So this is going to be the centerpiece of the case because, what the DA is saying is we have evidence she threatened David that she would expose their
Look at him.
relationship, probably in a text. That's the way they make it seem. And that she goes to David's house on April 23rd, 2025,
He's lying
never
in
to be
wait.
seen again.
Right.
So now the question, what happened? So the prosecutor is going to say he stabbed her to death. And here are these 2 wounds. And then you're going to have the defense coming out and saying, look, number one, you didn't say conclusively, you're saying may. And this is a reasonable doubt case.
The medical examiner also released their reports, and I'll be real, bro. Seeing this, man, I don't see how anything other than a death penalty is appropriate here, bro.
Man.
So they confirmed two things. She was missing both arms above the elbows and both legs above the knees. Now, underneath the body bag was a black trash bag that contained the descendants' apparent compiled bilateral arms and legs. They appear to have been dismembered into several fragments. The descendant was in an advanced state of decomposition demonstrated by foul odor, discoloration, liquefaction. Notice approximately 1 inch linear defect on her abdomen and circular defect on her left flank. Now, the left ring and pinky fingers appear to have been mutilated. So this dude probably kept this as a trophy, man. What a weirdo. And I did not locate them during my scene examination. So they're missing. They're gone. She has a
it's like every time I listen to this guy, every time I get updates about this creep, it just blows my mind. Like, for real. He really blows my mind, y'all. I can't deal with this shit.
To the reads on the side of her right index finger, I did not observe any discernible scars or tattoo. I don't even want to know what that weirdo and sicko is doing with those fingers, but his next court date is in like a week or two, so we're going to keep on covering this. Let me know in the comment section, what are you guys' thoughts, man? Why do y'all...
Man, keep y'all children safe. Shit. And it's all because of Roblox, too. That Roblox shit, hey, parents, watch that Roblox. That's how he found her, too. That Roblox shit.